The man kneeling in the rain outside the $47 million mansion used to make her sleep on the couch. Let that sink in. The same man now clutching iron gates like a drowning man clutches driftwood. He used to tell her she was taking up too much space in their bed. In the one-bedroom apartment she paid for. His name is Ryan Eckelberg. And 3 years ago, he looked her dead in the eye and said, "You're useless. You've always been useless." Tonight, he's begging, "Elsa, Elsa, please. I'll do anything. Just talk to me." But the woman standing in the golden light of her marble entryway, the woman in the silk Valentino trenchcoat, the woman whose heels cost more than his car, she doesn't move. She just watches him. Like you'd watch a stranger. Because that's what he is now. Her voice cuts through the storm, smooth as ice, sharp as a blade. "I spent 2 years begging the man I loved not to leave me. He cheated. Called me useless. Blocked my number and disappeared like I never existed." She takes one step closer to the gate. The rain mists her face, but she doesn't flinch. Last week, he showed up here. In the rain. On his knees. Her lips curve, not a smile, not quite. But the woman he abandoned? She doesn't live here anymore. Hold on. Before we go any further, hi, love. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad the algorithm brought you to me. Now listen, I need you to do something for me real quick. Hit that subscribe button. My mom told me I'd never reach 1,000 subscribers. She said, nobody's got time for long stories anymore. So, prove her wrong with me? Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Are you in bed? On a lunch break? Procrastinating? I want to know. And if this story already has you hooked, if you're feeling it, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Don't be shy. We are building a family here, and I want you in it. All right. Now let me take you back. Because what happened between that night and this night? It's the kind of story that'll make you believe in karma, in second chances, and in the power of a woman who finally stops apologizing for taking up space. Her name is Elsa Corleone, and 3 years ago, she was drowning in a life that looked fine from the outside but felt like suffocation from within. Elsa was a black woman with soft brown eyes that held too much empathy, a voice that always asked permission, and a heart that loved the wrong man for all the right reasons. She was brilliant, top of her class with a degree in business analytics from Howard University. She could read a financial report like sheet music, see patterns in chaos, predict market trends with eerie accuracy. But Ryan Eckelberg, her husband, didn't want a brilliant wife. He wanted a convenient one. Ryan was tall, charming, Caucasian, and successful in all the performative ways: corner office, tailored suits, a smile that could sell ice to Alaska. He worked in marketing for a mid-tier firm and carried himself like he ran Goldman Sachs. When they met at a charity gala 4 years ago, he'd made her feel seen. He asked about her dreams. He listened, or at least, he performed listening well enough to fool her. Within 6 months, they were married. Within a year, she realized she'd married a man who loved the idea of her more than the reality. But by then, she loved him too much to leave. Here's what Elsa wanted, and God, it wasn't much. A peaceful marriage. Loyalty. Partnership. Maybe kids someday, if they were blessed. She wanted to feel chosen, not tolerated, not managed, but genuinely, deeply, irrevocably chosen. Instead, she got a man who came home later and later. A man who stopped touching her. A man who looked at his phone more than her face. She got a husband who made her feel like a ghost in her own home. And her deepest fear, the one that lived in her chest like a stone, was that maybe she wasn't enough. Maybe if she tried harder, smiled more, asked for less, took up less space, maybe then he'd love her the way she loved him. So that's what she did. She shrank. She dimmed her light until she was barely a flicker. She stopped sharing her ideas because they made him feel threatened. She stopped dressing up because he said she was trying too hard. She stopped asking him how his day was because he said her questions felt like interrogations. Elsa Corleone, a woman who could have run a Fortune 500 company, spent 3 years managing one man's fragile ego. And it still wasn't enough. But here's the thing Ryan didn't know. Here's what Elsa didn't even know yet. Underneath all that people-pleasing, all that desperate love, all that silence, there was a woman with a mind like a supercomputer and a will like titanium. She'd been class valedictorian. She'd written a thesis on emerging market strategies that her professor said was publishable. She could look at a struggling business and see exactly what it needed to thrive. But she'd buried all of that, packed it away like old clothes she thought she'd never wear again, because Ryan needed her small, and she loved him enough to oblige, until the night he proved that even small wasn't small enough. It was a Tuesday. Elsa remembers because she'd taken the afternoon off work, her job as an executive assistant at a law firm, the job she'd taken because Ryan said her career ambitions were stressing him out, to make Ryan's favorite meal. Jerk chicken, rice and peas, plantains, the whole thing. She'd set the table with candles, worn the black dress he used to love, put on the perfume he'd bought her for their anniversary. She was trying. God, she was always trying. Ryan walked in at 10:47 p.m. He didn't look at the table, didn't look at her, just loosened his tie and headed for the bedroom. Ryan. Her voice was so small. I made dinner. Not hungry. But Elsa. He turned, and the look in his eyes was so cold it burned. Can you not be so fucking needy for one night? Something inside her cracked. When do I get to matter? She whispered. He laughed. Actually laughed. You want the truth? Fine. You're exhausting, Elsa. You're clingy. You're useless. The word landed like a slap. I've been seeing someone else, he continued, casually, like he was discussing the weather. Her name's Jessica. Works in my building. And honestly, she makes me feel alive. You just drain me. Elsa couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't process that the man she'd loved for 4 years was dismantling her with the same tone he used to order coffee. I'm moving out, Ryan said. Tonight. I'll send someone for my stuff later. Ryan, please. Don't. He held up a hand. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. We both know this wasn't working. And then he walked out. Just like that. No fight. No second thoughts. No looking back. He blocked her number before he even reached his car. Here's the question that'll keep you watching. How did a woman who couldn't even keep her husband build an empire that made him beg? What happened in those 2 years that turned heartbreak into billions? And here's the real kicker. The thing that started it all? It was something Ryan had thrown in the trash. Before we continue, real talk. If you've ever been called too much or not enough by someone who was supposed to protect you, if you've ever loved someone who made you feel small, if you've ever wondered if you'd survive the person who broke you, this story is for you. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? You're already here. You're already hooked. Don't break my heart. Tap that button. Let's do this together. Now, let me show you what happened next. Because 3 days after Ryan left, Elsa was sitting outside a cafe in the rain, mascara running, phone in her hand, staring at his blocked contact, when a stranger sat down beside her and said 6 words that changed everything. You look like you need help. The stranger's name was Vincent Gamble, and he wasn't supposed to change her life. He was just a man in a coffee shop, minding his business, nursing an espresso that had gone cold an hour ago while he scribbled notes in a battered moleskine notebook. But when he looked up and saw Elsa, mascara streaking her face, shoulders shaking, rain-soaked, and barely holding it together, something in him couldn't just walk away. Vincent wasn't the knight in shining armor type. He was 32, black, lean, with intelligent eyes and the kind of quiet intensity that made people underestimate him. He wore thrift store blazers and had perpetually ink-stained fingers. He was a dreamer in a world that preferred pragmatists. But he had one thing Ryan Eckelberg never had: empathy. He slid into the chair across from Elsa without asking permission. You look like you need help, he said simply. Elsa looked up, startled. I'm fine. No, you're not. No judgment. Just fact. And that's okay. Nobody's fine all the time. She should have told him to leave. Should have said she didn't need a stranger's pity. But instead, she started crying harder. And Vincent? He just sat there. Didn't try to fix it. Didn't offer empty platitudes. Just slid a napkin across the table and waited. When she finally caught her breath, he asked, coffee or something stronger? I don't drink, she whispered. Then coffee it is. He bought her a latte. Extra hot. 2 sugars. He didn't ask what happened. Didn't pry. Just said, bad day, bad week, or bad life. Elsa let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. All 3. Been there. Vincent took a sip of his cold espresso, grimaced. Currently there, actually. And somehow, that honesty cracked something open in her. They talked for 3 hours that night. Not about Ryan, not yet. About everything else. Vincent told her about his dream, to build a tech platform that connected small businesses with ethical investors. He'd been working on it for 2 years, burning through his savings, living in a studio apartment that cost more than it was worth because it was in walking distance of potential investors. Everyone says it's too idealistic, he said, stirring his 3rd espresso. That nobody cares about ethical anything anymore. But I think they're wrong. I think people are starving for something real. Elsa found herself leaning forward. What's the model? She asked. And just like that, they were off. She started asking questions, pointed, specific, the kind of questions that came from that brilliant mind she'd buried for Ryan. What's your user acquisition strategy? How are you vetting investors? What's your monetization plan? Vincent's eyes lit up like Christmas. Wait, do you work in finance? I used to study it. Elsa's voice was small again. But I'm just an assistant now. Just an assistant. Vincent looked at her like she'd said something absurd. You're asking questions VCs should be asking. Where'd you go to school? Howard. Business analytics. And you're working as an assistant. Elsa looked down at her cold latte. My husband thought. She stopped. Corrected herself. Ex-husband. He thought I was too ambitious. Said it stressed him out. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then, he sounds like an idiot. Elsa's head snapped up. I'm serious, Vincent continued. Anyone who'd rather you be small than brilliant? That's not love. That's control. Something in Elsa's chest, something that had been clenched tight for years, started to unfold. Quick pause. Are you still with me? If you're watching this and thinking, damn, I wish someone had told me that years ago, drop a comment. Tell me your story. And listen, if you haven't subscribed yet, why are you doing this to yourself? You're already invested. You already care what happens to Elsa. Just hit the button, love. Join the family. I promise, I've got more stories that'll hit you right in the feels. All right, back to it. Over the next 2 weeks, Elsa and Vincent kept meeting. At first, it was just coffee. Then it was coffee and brainstorming sessions. Then it was late-night phone calls about market research and investor pitch decks. Elsa told herself it was just helping a friend. Except Vincent wasn't really a friend yet. He was something else. Something undefined. He made her feel useful. God, that word again. But this time it didn't hurt. This time, it felt like purpose. Vincent's startup, EthicaConnect, was bleeding money. He'd bootstrapped it with his life savings and a small loan from his grandmother, but he was weeks away from having to shut it down. I just need one investor to believe in it, he said one night, sitting across from Elsa in a 24-hour diner at 2 a.m. One person to see what I see. Elsa looked at the mess of papers spread across the table. Financial projections, user personas, competitive analysis. It was good. It was really good. But it was also incomplete. Can I ask you something? Elsa said carefully. Anything. Why aren't you talking to community banks? Credit unions? They're more mission-aligned than traditional VCs. And your platform would actually solve a problem they have, connecting their business loan customers with growth capital. Vincent stared at her. That's brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? Because you've been thinking like a tech founder. You need to think like a banker. And you know how bankers think. Elsa allowed herself a small smile. I wrote my thesis on community banking and economic mobility. Of course you did. Vincent laughed, but it wasn't mocking. It was delighted. Elsa, I need to ask you something. Her heart did something complicated. Will you help me? He asked. Not just advice. I mean really help me. Be my co-founder. Vincent, I don't. I can't pay you much. Honestly, I can't pay you at all right now. But when this works, and I really think it can work. We split everything 50-50ths. I'm not an entrepreneur, Elsa said quietly. I'm just. If you say just an assistant one more time, I'm going to flip this table. Vincent's voice was firm but kind. You're one of the smartest people I've ever met. And I think maybe you've been told you're not for so long, you started to believe it. Elsa felt tears prickling her eyes. I don't know if I can do this. Neither do I, Vincent admitted. But I'd rather fail trying with you than succeed without you. So what do you say? And here's where everything shifted. Because Elsa had a choice. She could go back to her empty apartment. Back to scrolling through Ryan's social media, torturing herself with pictures of him and Jessica on vacation in Turks and Caicos. Back to being small. Or, she could bet on herself. On this stranger who saw something in her that her own husband never had. On the brilliant woman she'd buried alive. Okay, she whispered. Vincent grinned. Okay. Louder this time. Let's do it. They shook hands across the table, a contract made of hope and desperation and something else neither of them was ready to name yet. What Elsa didn't know was that this handshake would lead to 18-hour days, sleepless nights, a partnership that would blur every line, and eventually, an empire worth $2.3 billion. But first, they had to survive each other. Meet the supporting cast, because every empire needs witnesses. Zara Monroe, Elsa's best friend since college, a divorce attorney with a sharp tongue and sharper instincts. When Elsa called her about Ryan, Zara said, Finally. I never liked him anyway. He wore too much cologne and pronounced quinoa wrong. Zara didn't trust Vincent at first. You're partnering with a man you met 3 weeks ago while you were crying in a coffee shop. Elsa, baby, that's called a rebound, not a business plan. But Elsa insisted. And Zara, because she loved her girl, said, Fine. But I'm watching him. One wrong move, and I'll bury him in litigation. Jessica Chen, Ryan's new girlfriend, 26, worked in Ryan's building as a junior account manager, had the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. She knew Ryan was married when they started sleeping together. Didn't care. He said you were roommates, Jessica would later claim, which was a lie, but a convenient one. Jessica posted photos constantly. Her and Ryan at rooftop bars. Her and Ryan on weekend trips. Her hand with a ring on it, because yes, Ryan proposed to her 6 months after leaving Elsa. Every photo was a knife. But here's what Jessica didn't know. She wasn't dating a successful man. She was dating a man whose success was entirely borrowed. Ryan's corner office? Financed by credit cards. His car? Leased. His lifestyle? A performance he couldn't afford. And Jessica, who loved the performance more than the man, was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Ryan Eckelberg, let's be clear about who he really was. Charming. Yes. Successful. On paper. But underneath the suits and the smile was a man who'd built his entire identity on being better than everyone around him. He didn't love Elsa. He loved that she made him feel superior. When she was brilliant, it threatened him. When she was small, it bored him. He was a man who needed someone to look down on to feel tall. And when Elsa wouldn't play that role anymore, when she started asking questions, having opinions, taking up space, he found someone who would. Jessica thought she'd won. Ryan thought he'd upgraded. Neither of them realized they'd just signed up for their own destruction. Back to Elsa and Vincent. The first month was brutal. They worked out of Vincent's tiny apartment, laptops balanced on a folding table, surviving on instant ramen and cheap coffee. Elsa rewrote their entire pitch deck. Vincent cold-called 50 community banks. They got rejected by 47 of them. The 3 who agreed to meetings? 2 cancelled. 1 told them their idea was cute but unrealistic. Elsa wanted to quit 17 times. But every time she thought about calling it, Vincent would say something like, You know what I realized? You're the first person who's ever believed in my ideas without trying to change them. Or, I don't think you understand how good you are at this. Or, we are building something real here, Elsa. I can feel it. And she'd stay. Before we move on, let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone believe in you when you didn't believe in yourself? Drop their name in the comments. Give them their flowers. And hey, if you're loving this story and you still haven't subscribed, come on now. You can literally put a smile on someone's face right now, mine, by hitting that button. Do it. I'll wait. Okay. You good. Subscribed. Beautiful. Now let's talk about what happened when everything started to fall apart. Month 2. Vincent's savings ran out. Elsa was still working her assistant job, trying to contribute what she could, but it wasn't enough. They needed capital. Real capital. And they needed it now. We have one shot, Vincent said, pacing his apartment at midnight. There's a pitch competition next month. Winner gets $100,000 in seed funding and mentorship from a top VC firm. What's the catch? 500 startups are applying. They're picking 10 finalists. So we just have to be top 2%. Exactly. Elsa looked at him. At this man who'd seen her at her lowest and decided she was worth betting on. Then let's be top 2%, she said. They spent the next 3 weeks building the most comprehensive, data-driven, emotionally compelling pitch deck anyone had ever seen. Elsa worked her assistant job from 9 to 5. Then came to Vincent's apartment and worked until 3 a.m. Slept 4 hours. Did it again. Her body was exhausted. But her mind was alive. For the first time in years, she felt like she mattered. Like she was building something that couldn't be taken away. And Vincent was falling in love. He didn't say it. Didn't even fully admit it to himself. But the way he looked at her when she was deep in analysis, chewing on her pen, solving problems he couldn't. That was a man seeing the love of his life and not even knowing it yet. They submitted their application on the last possible day. And then they waited. 2 weeks of silence. Elsa convinced herself they didn't make it. Vincent refused to believe that. We are getting in, he kept saying. I know we are. You can't know that. Watch me. And then, on a random Tuesday, Elsa's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her pick up. Is this Elsa Corleone? Yes. This is Amanda Frost from the Innovate NYC Pitch Competition. Congratulations, EthicaConnect has been selected as one of our 10 finalists. Elsa dropped her phone. Vincent, who'd been watching her face, knew immediately. We are in. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. We are in. He picked her up and spun her around his tiny apartment, both of them laughing, crying, unable to believe this was real. And in that moment, with her arms around his neck and his hands on her waist and their futures suddenly wide open, something shifted between them. Something neither of them was ready to name. But it was there. Undeniable. Meanwhile, across town, Ryan Eckelberg was posting photos of his engagement party. Jessica in a white dress. Him in a custom suit. The caption, "Found my forever. Some people are worth the wait." The subtext, "Unlike my ex-wife." Elsa saw the post. And for the first time since he left, it didn't destroy her. Because she was too busy building something he could never take away. Here's what you need to understand. Elsa's deepest fear was that she wasn't enough. Her core desire was to be chosen. But what she was learning, slowly, painfully, beautifully, was that the most important person who needed to choose her was herself. And she was finally starting to. The pitch competition was in 3 weeks. 3 weeks to perfect a 10-minute presentation that could change their lives. 3 weeks to prove that EthicaConnect wasn't just a dream, it was a solution. Elsa threw herself into preparation like a woman possessed. Because that's what she was. Possessed by possibility. By the intoxicating feeling of mattering again. Vincent watched her transform in real time. The woman who'd been crying in a coffee shop 2 months ago was now commanding spreadsheets like a general commanding troops. She built financial models that made their projections bulletproof. She researched every judge, every sponsor, every competitor. You're kind of scary when you're focused, Vincent said one night, watching her annotate their pitch deck for the 14th time. Elsa looked up, startled. Scary? Scary good. Like, I'm pretty sure you could run the world if someone gave you the password. She laughed, a real laugh, the kind that surprised her because she'd forgotten what joy sounded like. I'm just being thorough. No. Vincent set down his laptop. You're being brilliant. And I need you to know that I see it. Every single day, I see it. The air between them shifted. Elsa's heart did that complicated thing again, the thing where it remembered she was still technically healing from Ryan, but also recognized that Vincent made her feel things Ryan never had. Safe. Seen. Valued. She cleared her throat. We should practice the pitch again. Elsa. From the top. You do the intro, I'll do the market analysis. Vincent smiled, understanding the deflection for what it was. From the top, he agreed. But here's what Elsa didn't know. While she was building a future, Ryan was busy destroying his own. Let me paint you a picture of Ryan's life, 2 months post-Elsa. He'd moved into a luxury high-rise with Jessica. 2 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows, a view of the city that cost $4,800 a month. Could he afford it? Absolutely not. But Jessica expected a certain lifestyle, and Ryan had built his entire identity on providing it. So he maxed out credit cards, took out personal loans, borrowed from friends with vague promises of business opportunities. At work, he was drowning. The big campaign he'd promised his boss? Falling apart. His performance reviews were slipping. But he couldn't let Jessica see him sweat. Every night, he came home with expensive wine, designer shopping bags, reservations at restaurants that required a month's notice. You're so good to me, Jessica would coo, posting another photo to Instagram. And Ryan would smile, ignore the credit card notification on his phone, and pour himself another drink. He thought about Elsa sometimes. Wondered if she was okay. Wondered if she'd moved on. Then he'd look at Jessica, young, beautiful, uncomplicated, and convince himself he'd made the right choice. After all, he was thriving. Wasn't he? Meanwhile, let's check in with Zara. Elsa's best friend hadn't trusted Vincent from day one, but she had to admit, the man was proving her wrong. So he's not a serial killer. Zara asked over lunch, watching Elsa's face light up every time she mentioned EthicaConnect. He's not a serial killer, Elsa confirmed, laughing. And you're sure this isn't just, I don't know, emotional rebound? Hot guy gives you attention after Ryan destroyed you. Elsa's smile faded. It's not like that. What's it like, then? It's... Elsa searched for words. He makes me feel like I'm allowed to be smart again. Like my ideas matter. Like I matter. Zara's expression softened. Baby, you've always mattered. You just forgot for a while. I know. But Vincent, he reminded me. And now we are building something real, Zara. Something that could actually change lives. And if it doesn't work out? The business, I mean. Elsa was quiet for a moment. Then at least I'll know I tried. That I didn't let Ryan's words become my truth. Zara reached across the table, squeezed her hand. I'm proud of you, she said simply. And if Vincent hurts you, I'll destroy him legally and creatively. I know you will. Good. Now tell me about this pitch competition. Quick pause. Are you still breathing? Because this story is about to get wild. If you're feeling Elsa's journey right now, if you're rooting for her, if you're thinking, yes, girl, get that empire. Drop a comment. Tell me what you're feeling. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, someone who's rebuilding after heartbreak, someone who's finding their power again, share this video with them. Better yet, subscribe so you never miss a story like this. Come on. You know you want to. I can see you hovering over that button. Do it. Make us both happy. All right, back to the story. Because everything's about to explode. 1 week before the pitch competition, Elsa got a phone call. Not from Vincent. Not from Zara. From Ryan's mother. Elsa, sweetheart, it's Margaret. Elsa's blood went cold. She hadn't spoken to Ryan's family since the divorce. Well, since Ryan ghosted her. They'd loved her once. She'd spent Christmases with them, helped Margaret plan her garden party, listened to Ryan's father's terrible jokes. Mrs. Eckelberg, Elsa said carefully. How are you? I'm worried, honestly. About Ryan. Why are you calling me? Because he won't return my calls. And when I finally reached him, he sounded off. Stressed. Defensive. He kept saying everything was fine, but Mother's intuition tells me it's not. Elsa's first instinct was to say not my problem anymore, but Margaret had always been kind to her. Have you talked to Jessica? Elsa asked. That girl. Margaret's voice turned cold. She won't even let me visit. Says their apartment is too small for guests, which is ridiculous because Ryan told me it's a 2-bedroom. Mrs. Eckelberg, I appreciate you calling, but Ryan and we are done. Whatever's happening in his life isn't my concern anymore. I know, sweetheart. I know. And for what it's worth. I'm sorry. For how he treated you. You deserved so much better. Elsa felt tears prickling her eyes. Thank you. Will you just check on him? Please. I know I have no right to ask, but I can't. Elsa's voice was firm but not unkind. I am sorry. I really am. But that part of my life is over. After she hung up, Elsa sat on her couch for a long time, phone in hand. Vincent texted, You okay? You've been quiet. Elsa typed. Ryan's mom called. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, want to talk about it? Not really. Want to practice the pitch? Always. And just like that, she chose forward momentum over backward glances. The night before the pitch competition, Vincent and Elsa met at his apartment one last time. They'd practiced so much, they could recite the pitch in their sleep. But Vincent was nervous. Pacing. Running his hands through his hair. What if we freeze? He said. What if the judges hate it? What if? Vincent. Elsa stood, walked over to him, placed her hands on his shoulders. We've got this. How do you know? Because I've seen what we built. It's good. It's really good. And even if we don't win. We have to win, Elsa. This is it. This is our shot. I know. Her voice was soft. But win or lose, we already did something incredible. What's that? We proved my ex-husband wrong. Vincent smiled despite himself. How so? He said I was useless. Elsa's eyes were bright with unshed tears. But look at what these useless hands built. Vincent's expression cracked open. And before either of them could think better of it, he kissed her. Not aggressive. Not demanding. Just soft. A question more than a statement. Elsa froze. Every alarm in her head screamed. Too soon. Too fast. You're not ready. But her heart, her stupid, hopeful, reckless heart, it whispered, what if this is exactly right? She pulled back, breathless. Vincent, I'm sorry, he said immediately. I shouldn't have. I'm not ready. The words hurt coming out. Ryan it's only been a few months, and I'm still. I know. Vincent stepped back, giving her space. I know. And I'm not asking you to be ready. I needed you to know. That I see you. That working with you has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. And not just because of the business. Vincent. You don't have to say anything, he continued. I'm not going anywhere. Whether you feel the same or not, whether this ever becomes something or not, I'm still here. We are still partners. That doesn't change. Elsa felt like her chest was going to explode. Can we focus on tomorrow? She whispered. And figure out the rest later. Absolutely. But as Vincent turned away, grabbed his notes, tried to pretend everything was normal, both of them knew something had irrevocably shifted. The line between business and personal had been crossed, and there was no going back. The morning of the pitch competition, Elsa woke up at 5 a.m. Couldn't sleep. Too much adrenaline. Too much fear. Too much everything. She put on the one good suit she owned, navy blue, slightly too big because she'd lost weight from stress, and practiced her portion of the pitch in the mirror. Her phone buzzed. Vincent, ready to change the world? Elsa, ready to try. Vincent, that's all we can do. See you there, partner. Partner. The word felt different now. Loaded with possibility. The venue was a beautiful historic theater in Manhattan that had been converted into an event space. 10 startups. 3 judges. 1 winner. Elsa and Vincent arrived an hour early. They sat in the back row, watching other teams set up, practice, panic. "We belong here," Vincent said quietly. "You sure about that?" "Positive." He looked at her. "We are the only team here solving a real problem with a realistic solution. Everyone else is just chasing trends." "That's not true." "Okay, maybe not everyone. But we are good, Elsa. Trust me." She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But that voice in her head, Ryan's voice, kept whispering, "You're not enough. You'll never be enough." They were the 8th team to pitch, which meant they had to sit through 7 other presentations, watching competitors nail their deliveries, watching judges nod and smile, watching her confidence erode with every passing minute. When their name was finally called. Next up, we have EthicaConnect, presented by Vincent Gamble and Elsa Corleone. Elsa's legs barely worked, but Vincent squeezed her hand once. And she remembered. She wasn't the woman Ryan left behind anymore. She was the woman who'd rebuilt herself from ashes. And she was about to prove it. They walked on stage. The lights were blinding. The judges were stone-faced. Vincent started the pitch. Smooth, confident, charismatic. He explained the problem. Small businesses needed ethical capital, but traditional funding sources either didn't care about ethics or were too expensive to access. Then Elsa stepped forward. And the room changed. She presented their solution with the precision of a surgeon and the passion of a believer. She walked the judges through their market research, their user acquisition strategy, their revenue model. She answered their questions with data, with stories, with conviction. And for 10 minutes, Elsa Corleone wasn't thinking about Ryan. Wasn't thinking about heartbreak. Wasn't thinking about useless or not enough or any of the lies she'd been fed. She was just powerful. When they finished, the theater was silent. Then one judge started clapping. Then another. Then the entire room erupted. They didn't win. They came in second, which meant no $100,000. But it also meant runner-up prize of $25,000, mentorship from a top VC firm, media coverage, and most importantly, validation. As they walked off stage, Vincent turned to Elsa, eyes shining. "We did it. We didn't win. We did something better," he said. "We proved we belong here." And then, a woman in an expensive suit approached them. Elsa Corleone. "Yes.
I'm Claire Whitmore.
I run an angel investment fund focused on ethical tech. Your pitch was the best thing I've seen in 5 years. Can we talk?" Before we continue, let me say this. If you're building something right now, if you're betting on yourself when nobody else will, if you're in that terrifying space between "I can't do this" and "holy shit, I'm actually doing this," this is your sign. Keep going. And hey, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel. Why? Because you've come this far. Because you're invested. Because somewhere deep down, you know you want to see how this ends. Hit that button. I'll wait. You good? Subscribed. Perfect. Now let me tell you what happened when Ryan found out his ex-wife was building an empire without him. 3 days after the pitch competition, Ryan was scrolling Instagram, procrastinating on work, avoiding Jessica, who'd been in a mood all week because he'd cancelled their Napa trip due to budget concerns. That's when he saw it. An article shared by someone he used to work with. 10 startups to watch. EthicaConnect takes NYC by storm. And there, in the photo accompanying the article, was Elsa. His Elsa. Except she didn't look like his anything. She looked confident, powerful, happy, standing next to some guy Ryan didn't recognize. The caption identified them as co-founders. Ryan felt something cold slither through his chest. He clicked the article. Read about their pitch competition success. Read about their $25,000 prize. Read about the VC interest. And all he could think was, this doesn't make sense. Elsa wasn't a founder. She was an executive assistant. She was supposed to be destroyed by their divorce, not thriving. He zoomed in on the photo. She was wearing a suit he didn't recognize, smiling a smile he'd never seen, looking at that guy, Vincent, with something in her eyes that made Ryan's blood boil. "Who the hell is Vincent Gamble?" he muttered. "What?" Jessica called from the bedroom. "Nothing." But it wasn't nothing. Because for the first time since he'd left Elsa, Ryan Eckelberg realized he might have made a mistake. Claire Whitmore didn't waste time. 3 days after the pitch competition, she invited Elsa and Vincent to her office in Midtown, a sleek space on the 42nd floor with views that made you feel like you owned the city. "I'll cut to the chase," Claire said, leaning back in her leather chair. "I want to invest $500,000 in EthicaConnect, for 15% equity." Vincent nearly fell out of his seat. Elsa's mind immediately went into calculation mode. $500,000 at 15% meant they'd be valued at roughly $3.3 million. Pre-revenue. It was insane. "That's incredibly generous," Elsa said carefully. "But can I ask what you see in us that makes this worth the risk?" Claire smiled. "You want the business answer or the real answer?" "Both." Business answer. Your market analysis is flawless, your solution is scalable, and you're targeting an underserved niche with actual demand. Plus, community banks are desperate for tech solutions, and you're positioned perfectly to capture that market. And the real answer? Claire looked directly at Elsa. "I was you, 15 years ago. Brilliant woman, terrible husband, told I was too ambitious for my own good. I rebuilt myself in the wreckage of a marriage that nearly destroyed me. And when I see women like you, women who refuse to stay broken, I invest. Because you're not just building a business. You're building proof that they were wrong about you." Elsa felt tears sting her eyes. Vincent reached over, squeezed her hand under the table. "We are in," he said. "When can we start?" The next 3 months were a blur. With Claire's investment and mentorship, EthicaConnect went from scrappy startup to legitimate business. They hired their first 2 employees, a developer named Marcus. Wait, no. They hired their first 2 employees, a developer named Jake Doyle and a marketing strategist named Mia Sullivan. They moved out of Vincent's apartment and into a small office in Brooklyn. Nothing fancy, but it had windows and desks and a coffee maker that didn't smell like regret. They landed their first 3 clients, community banks in Ohio, Georgia, and Montana who were desperate for a platform that could connect their small business borrowers with ethical growth capital. The revenue wasn't huge, $15K in the first month, $23,000 in the second, but it was real. They were building something that mattered. And Elsa was becoming someone she didn't recognize. In the best possible way. She woke up at 5:30 a.m. every day. Not because she had to. Because she wanted to. She'd shower, make coffee, review the day's priorities before anyone else was awake. By 7 a.m., she was in the office. By 8 a.m., she was in meetings with clients, investors, potential partners. She negotiated contracts with the confidence of someone who'd been doing this for decades. She presented strategy decks with the precision of a master craftsman. She solved problems that made Vincent shake his head in amazement. "How did you figure that out?" he asked one day, after she'd restructured their entire user onboarding flow to reduce friction by 40%. "I just thought about what would make sense," Elsa said, shrugging. "That's not just thinking, Elsa. That's genius." She smiled, but part of her still couldn't fully accept it. That voice, Ryan's voice, still whispered sometimes, "This won't last. You'll mess it up. You always do." But she was learning to silence it. One victory at a time. Quick check-in. How are you doing? Are you watching this at 2 a.m. when you should be sleeping? Are you supposed to be working but can't stop watching? Drop a comment. Tell me what time it is where you are right now. And listen, if you haven't subscribed yet. What are we even doing here? You're thousands of words deep into this story. You clearly care. Just hit the button, love. Make it official. You know you want to see how this ends. Do it. I believe in you. All right, back to the chaos. But success came with complications. Complication number 1, the competition. A bigger startup, one with actual VC backing and a Silicon Valley pedigree, launched a platform almost identical to EthicaConnect. They called it Fairfund. And they had $10 million in funding. "They're going to bury us," Vincent said, staring at the TechCrunch article announcing Fairfund's launch. "No, they're not," Elsa said, already pulling up their website, analyzing their model. "Elsa, they have $10 million. We have $500,000. How are we supposed to compete?" "By being better." She pointed at her screen. "Look at their fee structure. They're charging small businesses 8% transaction fees. We are charging 3%. They're focused on coastal cities. We are focused on underserved communities. They're trying to be everything to everyone. We are laser-focused on community banks. You really think that's enough? I think desperation makes you creative. And they've never been desperate. Vincent looked at her for a long moment. You're kind of scary, you know that. You've mentioned. Complication number 2, the money. $500,000 sounds like a lot until you're actually running a business. Salaries, office rent, software licenses, legal fees, marketing costs, it added up fast. By month 4, they were burning through $40,000 a month, which meant they had maybe 8 months of runway left. Maybe. If nothing went wrong. We need more revenue or another funding round, Elsa told Vincent during a late-night strategy session. We are barely 6 months old. Nobody's going to invest in us again this soon. Then we need to land bigger clients. Fast. How? Elsa pulled up a list she'd been working on. There's a banking conference in Chicago next month. The top 200 community bank CEOs in the country will be there. If we can get a booth. Booths start at $15,000. We don't have $15,000 to spare. Then we don't get a booth. We get creative. Complication number 3, the feelings. Vincent was in love with Elsa. This was no longer a secret, at least not to him. Every morning when she walked into the office, his heart did something stupid. Every time she solved a problem he couldn't, he fell a little deeper. Every late night they spent working side by side, ordering takeout, laughing at terrible jokes. It felt like the most natural thing in the world. But Elsa was still healing, still rebuilding, still not ready. And Vincent respected that. He never pushed, never brought up the kiss, never made her feel pressured or uncomfortable. But the tension was there, in the way their hands would brush when passing documents, in the way she'd look at him sometimes when she thought he wasn't watching, in the way they'd both lean in during conversations, getting closer than strictly necessary. One night, after everyone else had gone home, Vincent finally asked, "Are you ever going to talk about it?" Elsa looked up from her laptop. Talk about what? The kiss. She stiffened. Vincent. I'm not asking you to feel anything you don't feel, he said quickly. I need to know where we stand. Because working with you every day and pretending I don't feel this way, it's getting harder. Elsa closed her laptop, took a deep breath. I think about it, she admitted quietly. The kiss. What it meant. What it could mean. And I'm terrified. Her voice cracked. Because Ryan made me feel like I was the problem. Like my love was too much or not enough or just wrong. And I don't know how to trust myself anymore. What if I'm reading this wrong? What if I ruin what we've built? Vincent moved closer, but didn't touch her. You're not reading it wrong, he said softly. I have feelings for you, Elsa. Real feelings. And I hope, you might feel something too. But I'm not Ryan. I'm not going to punish you for being yourself. And I'm not going to disappear if you need time. How much time? As much as you need. Months. Years. Forever, if that's what it takes. Elsa felt tears sliding down her cheeks. That's not fair to you. Let me decide what's fair to me. They sat in silence for a long moment. Then Elsa said, Can we keep building this? Together. And figure out the rest as we go. We can do whatever you want. I want to not mess this up. Then we won't. But both of them knew it wasn't that simple. Meanwhile, in Ryan's rapidly imploding life, things were falling apart in spectacular fashion. Problem number 1. Work. Ryan had been demoted. Not officially, his title was still the same, but his responsibilities had been redistributed after he'd blown 3 major client presentations in a row. His boss, a woman named Patricia who'd never liked him, seemed to take particular pleasure in the reassignment. We are moving you to support for a while, she'd said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Just until you get your footing back. Support. He was a senior account manager, and they'd moved him to support. It was humiliating. Problem number 2. Money. Remember those credit cards Ryan had maxed out? Yeah. The bills were coming due. $47,000 in credit card debt, $22,000 in personal loans, $4,800 in monthly rent he could barely afford. And Jessica. Jessica had expensive taste. She wanted vacations, designer bags, Michelin-star dinners. "Babe, I saw the cutest Chanel bag today," she'd say, showing him her phone. And Ryan, desperate to maintain the illusion of success, would smile and say, "Get it." Then panic about how he'd pay for it later. Problem number 3. Jessica. Here's the thing about Jessica Chen. She didn't love Ryan. She loved what Ryan represented. Or what she thought he represented. Success, stability, status. But as Ryan's facade cracked, so did her interest. She started coming home later. Started being too tired for sex. Started looking at her phone more than she looked at him. One night, Ryan found a text on her phone. Yes, he snooped. Desperate people do desperate things. Unknown. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Wear that dress I like. Jessica. You know I will. Face blowing a kiss. Ryan's blood turned to ice. But when he confronted her, Jessica turned it around. You're being paranoid. Here's a client. I'm in sales, Ryan. This is literally my job. Clients don't tell you what to wear. Oh my God, you're being so controlling right now. Is this what our marriage is going to be? You monitoring my every move. Marriage. They weren't even married yet. But Jessica had started referring to their relationship that way, planting seeds, making assumptions. And Ryan, too afraid of being alone, let her. Problem number 4. Elsa's success. This was the one that kept Ryan up at night. He couldn't stop thinking about that article. About Elsa's face, confident, happy, successful. About Vincent Gamble, whoever the hell that was. Ryan did what any rational person would do. He spiraled into obsessive social media stalking. He found EthicaConnect's website, found their LinkedIn pages, found articles about their growth, their clients, their vision. And every single one felt like a knife in his chest. Because this was his Elsa. The woman who used to beg him not to leave. The woman he'd called useless. And she was building an empire while his life fell apart. The worst part? He couldn't even hate her for it. He just missed her. Missed the way she used to look at him like he hung the moon. Missed having someone who made him feel important without demanding anything in return. Missed the woman who made his life easier. He didn't love Elsa. He never really had. But he missed being the center of her universe. One night, drunk on cheap whiskey, because he couldn't afford the good stuff anymore, Ryan did something stupid. He tried to call her. Her number was still blocked. So he created a new email account and sent her a message. Subject: I'm sorry. Elsa. I know I don't have the right to reach out. I know I hurt you. But I've been thinking about us a lot lately, and I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I saw the article about your company. I'm proud of you. Really. If you ever want to talk, I'm here, Ryan. He hit send before he could think better of it, then immediately regretted it. Elsa read the email the next morning. Felt absolutely nothing. Deleted it. And got back to work. Before we move forward, let me ask you something. Have you ever had an ex try to come back after you've moved on? How did it feel? Drop your story in the comments. And hey, if you're loving this and you still haven't subscribed, come on now. What are we doing? Hit that button. Make us official. I promise, you won't regret it. All right, let's keep going. The banking conference in Chicago was in 2 weeks. Elsa and Vincent couldn't afford a booth, but they could afford plane tickets and hotel rooms. So they made a plan. They'd attend as guests. Network aggressively. Set up informal meetings in hotel lobbies and coffee shops. And basically guerrilla market their way into conversations with the biggest players in community banking. This is either brilliant or insane, Vincent said, booking their flights. Why not both? Elsa replied, already drafting their pitch emails. They sent 200 personalized emails to conference attendees. Got 47 responses. Scheduled 23 meetings. We are really doing this, Vincent said, staring at their calendar. We are really doing this, Elsa confirmed. And for the first time in months. She felt like they might actually pull it off. The Chicago Conference. Day 1. The conference was held at a massive hotel downtown, the kind with crystal chandeliers and people in suits that cost more than Elsa's monthly rent used to. She and Vincent arrived early, armed with business cards, pitch decks loaded on iPads, and enough caffeine to fuel a small army. Their first meeting was with Gerald Thompson, CEO of a community bank in Tennessee with $800 million in assets. He was skeptical at first. "You're telling me you can connect my small business borrowers with ethical investors who'll actually care about their success?" "Not just telling you," Elsa said, pulling up their platform demo. "Showing you." She walked him through a case study, a bakery in Montana that needed $50,000 to expand. Traditional lenders wanted 12% interest. EthicaConnect connected them with an impact investor who offered 6% and mentorship. Gerald leaned back, impressed. "How much does this cost my bank?" "We charge a small subscription fee, $500 a month, plus 3% on successful matches. But your borrowers get better rates, better terms, and you build loyalty in your community." "And what's your track record?" "We are 6 months old," Vincent admitted. "But our success rate is 78%, compared to the industry average of 31%. Gerald was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I want in. How do we start?" By the end of day 1, they had 4 signed contracts, 7 verbal commitments, 12 follow-up meetings scheduled. Elsa and Vincent celebrated in their hotel bar with overpriced drinks they probably shouldn't have bought. "We did it," Vincent said, grinning like a kid on Christmas. "We did it," Elsa echoed, feeling lighter than she had in years. They clinked glasses, and in that moment, buzzed on success and alcohol and possibility. Elsa leaned over and kissed him. Not tentatively, not questioning, just kissed him. Vincent froze for half a second, then kissed her back. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, Elsa said, "I'm still scared." "I know. But I think I'm ready to try. If you're patient with me." Vincent smiled. "I've been patient this long. What's a little longer?" "You're too good to me." "I'm exactly as good as you deserve." And for the first time since Ryan had called her useless, Elsa believed it. The morning after the kiss, Elsa woke up in her hotel room with a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Not the fragile, desperate hope of someone trying to convince themselves everything would be okay, but the solid, grounded hope of someone who'd done the work and was finally seeing results. She reached for her phone. 3 texts from Vincent. "Good morning, partner. Last night was... wow. Coffee before our 9 a.m. meeting?" She smiled, typed back, "Coffee sounds perfect." Then she scrolled through her emails. Contract confirmations from 2 of yesterday's meetings. A follow-up from Gerald Thompson asking about implementation timelines. And then, an email from Zara with the subject line, "You need to see this." Elsa's stomach dropped. She opened it. Inside was a link to an Instagram post. Jessica's Instagram. The photo, Jessica in a white dress, Ryan in a tuxedo, standing in front of what looked like a courthouse. The caption, "Just married. Ring sometimes the best things in life are worth the wait. Here's to forever with my soulless soulmate. Champagne glasses #husband and wife #new beginnings #happily ever after." Posted 2 days ago. Elsa stared at the screen. Ryan had married Jessica. The woman he'd cheated with. The woman he'd left her for. They were married. She waited for the pain. For the devastation. For the familiar ache of not being chosen. But it didn't come. Instead, she felt nothing. No, not nothing. Relief. Because if Ryan had moved on, truly, legally moved on, then so could she. Without guilt. Without looking back. Without wondering what if. She texted Zara, saw it. "I'm okay." "Zara, are you sure? Because I can fly to wherever you are and we can burn things." Elsa laughed out loud. "I'm sure. I'm in Chicago. Closed 4 contracts yesterday. Kissed Vincent last night." "Zara, excuse me?" "Kissed." "Tell me everything. Later. I promise. Love you. Love you more. And Elsa, I'm proud of you." Elsa met Vincent in the hotel lobby cafe. He looked nervous, adorably so, like he was worried she'd regret last night. "Hey," he said, standing when she approached. "Hey yourself. So, we should probably talk about." "Ryan got married," Elsa said, sitting down. Vincent blinked. "What?" "My friend sent me a screenshot this morning. He married Jessica, the woman he cheated on me with."
Jesus, Elsa.
"Are you okay?" "Honestly." She took a sip of the coffee he'd already ordered for her, light and sweet, exactly how she liked it.
I'm fine.
Better than fine, actually, because it means that chapter is really, truly over. Vincent studied her face. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." She reached across the table, took his hand. "Last night wasn't about Ryan, or revenge, or proving anything. It was about me choosing something I want, someone I want." Vincent's expression softened. "And you want me?" "I want you," she confirmed. Scared and messy and still figuring it out, but yes, "I want you." He brought her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles. "Then you've got me." Quick pause, because I need to say this. If you've ever worried that your ex moving on meant you lost, you didn't. Sometimes the person who walked away just cleared the path for someone better. Drop a heart in the comments if you needed to hear that today. And listen, beautiful soul, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Why? Because you've been with Elsa this whole journey. You've watched her rebuild. You've cheered for her wins. Don't you want to see her become a billionaire? Hit that subscribe button. Be here when everything explodes. I promise, it's going to be worth it. All right, back to Chicago. Day 2 of the conference was even better than day 1. By noon, they'd signed 3 more contracts. By 3 p.m., they'd gotten an introduction to Harrison Wells, president of the National Community Banking Association, an organization representing over 5,000 banks nationwide. "I've been hearing about you two all morning," Harrison said, shaking their hands. "The Tennessee crew is very impressed." "We appreciate that," Vincent said. "Here's what I'm thinking," Harrison continued. "NCBA hosts a quarterly webinar for our members. About 2,000 CEOs tune in. How would you like to present EthicaConnect at our next one?" Elsa's brain immediately calculated the potential. 2,000 banks. Even if just 5% converted. That was 100 new clients. At $500 per month each. $50,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Game.
Changer.
"We'd be honored," she said, somehow keeping her voice steady. "Great. My assistant will reach out with details." "And Elsa?" "Yes. I read your thesis, Community Banking and Economic Mobility. Brilliant work. Why aren't you teaching?" Elsa smiled. "I like building things more than talking about them." Harrison laughed. "Fair enough. Looking forward to working with you both." When he walked away, Vincent turned to Elsa, eyes wide. "Did that just happen?" "That just happened. We are going to present to 2,000 bank CEOs." "We are going to present to 2,000 bank CEOs," Elsa repeated, the magnitude hitting her. "We need champagne. Real champagne. Expensive champagne." "Vincent, we can't afford." "I don't care. We are celebrating." That night, they sat on the rooftop bar of their hotel, overlooking the Chicago skyline. Vincent had insisted on buying a bottle of champagne that cost more than their flight. "To EthicaConnect," he said, raising his glass. "To EthicaConnect," Elsa echoed. They drank. Then Vincent said, "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "When did you know that this was going to work?" Elsa thought for a moment. "Remember the pitch competition? When you said we proved we belong?" "Yeah." "I didn't believe you then. I thought you were just being optimistic. And now? Now I think we are going to change the world." She laughed at how audacious it sounded, or at least a small corner of it. "That's all I've ever wanted," Vincent said softly. "To matter. To build something that outlasts me." "You already matter," Elsa told him. "You mattered to me when I was crying outside a cafe and you didn't look away. You mattered when you saw potential in me that I couldn't see in myself. You matter, Vincent. With or without EthicaConnect." He looked at her like she'd just given him the world. How are you real? He whispered. I could ask you the same thing. He leaned in, kissed her, slow and sweet and full of promise. And Elsa, for the first time in years, let herself fall. But of course, nothing good comes without complications. They flew back to New York on a high. 7 new contracts. The NCBA partnership. A relationship that felt like coming home. But reality was waiting for them at the office. Jake, their developer, met them at the door. We have a problem, he said, face grim. What kind of problem? Vincent asked. Fairfund just announced they're dropping their transaction fees to 0. Completely free for the first year. Elsa's blood ran cold. How is that sustainable? It's not, Jake said. But they've got $10 million in VC money to burn. They're trying to undercut everyone and grab market share. Vincent looked at Elsa. What do we do? We don't panic, she said, mind already racing. They're playing the VC game. Grow fast, burn money, hope for an acquisition. We are playing the sustainability game. Community banks don't want partners who might disappear in 2 years. They want reliability. But if we lose clients to free, we won't. Elsa's voice was firm. Because we are going to double down on what makes us different. Customer service, community impact, long-term relationships. Things money can't buy. You really think that's enough? I think desperation makes you creative, Elsa said, echoing her earlier words. And they're the desperate ones now, not us. But the complications weren't over. That evening, after everyone had gone home, Elsa was reviewing financial projections when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello. Elsa. It's Margaret. Ryan's mother. Elsa's stomach tightened. Mrs. Eckelberg, I told you. I know. But please, just listen. Ryan is... He's in trouble. Real trouble. That's not my problem anymore. He lost his job, Elsa. He's drowning in debt. And that girl he married, Jessica, she's been cheating on him. With multiple men. He just found out. A small, petty part of Elsa felt satisfied. Karma was real. I'm sorry to hear that, she said, meaning it. But I can't help him. I'm not asking you to help him. I'm asking you to just not destroy him. What? I know about your company. About how successful you're becoming. And I know Ryan. He's proud and stupid, and when he feels threatened, he lashes out. I'm worried he might. I don't know. Try to sabotage you somehow. Out of spite. He wouldn't. He would, Margaret said firmly. I love my son, but I know what he is. And I'm asking you, mother to a woman I wish had been my daughter-in-law, please don't give him ammunition. Be careful. After she hung up, Elsa sat in the dark office for a long time. Vincent found her there an hour later. You okay? Ryan's mom called. Apparently he lost his job. Jessica's been cheating on him. His life is falling apart. And you feel? Nothing. Elsa looked up at him. Is that terrible? That I feel nothing. It's called healing, Vincent said gently. You're allowed to not care about someone who hurt you. She warned me that he might try to sabotage us. If he feels threatened. Vincent's jaw tightened. Let him try. We've got lawyers now. Contracts. Legitimacy. He's just a bitter ex-husband. He can't touch us. I hope you're right. I am right. Vincent pulled her up from her chair. Come on. Let's go home. You need sleep. I need to finish these projections. Elsa. He cupped her face. The projections will still be there tomorrow. You need rest. She leaned into his touch. When did you get so bossy? Since I started dating a workaholic. We are dating. Aren't we? Elsa smiled. Yeah, I guess we are. Meanwhile, Ryan's life continued its spectacular collapse. He'd been fired. Not let go. Not downsized. Fired. For cause. Something about inappropriate conduct and expense account fraud, which was technically true. He'd been charging personal expenses to the company card for months. Jessica had reacted to the news by packing a bag and leaving. "I can't do this," she'd said, not even looking at him. "I didn't sign up for this." "We are married, Jessica." "Yeah, well, maybe that was a mistake." She'd moved in with her client, a 45-year-old real estate developer with a penthouse and a Porsche. Ryan was alone, jobless, broke, and watching his ex-wife build an empire without him. He'd tried reaching out to former colleagues. Nobody was hiring. Tried reaching out to friends. They'd all distanced themselves when the scandal broke. Tried reaching out to his parents. His father gave him a lecture about personal responsibility, and his mother sent money with a note that said, "Get yourself together." Ryan spent most days in his apartment, the expensive one he could no longer afford, drinking cheap vodka and scrolling through EthicaConnect's social media. Watching Elsa speak at conferences. Watching her smile beside Vincent. Watching her become everything he told her she could never be. And the hatred inside him grew. One night, drunk and furious, Ryan called Todd Brennan, a guy he knew from college who'd become a lawyer. Not a good lawyer, but a lawyer nonetheless. "Todd, it's Ryan. I need your help." "Ryan, man, I haven't heard from you in years. What's up?" "My ex-wife stole my business idea." This was a lie. Elsa had built EthicaConnect from scratch with Vincent, but Ryan had convinced himself it was true. "What do you mean stole?" "We used to talk about ethical investing all the time when we were married. Community development. Connecting small businesses with capital. That was my idea. She just waited until we divorced and then built it with some other guy." "Do you have proof? Emails? Documents?"
No.
"But I know it was mine." Todd sighed. "Ryan, without documentation, you don't have a case. Ideas aren't copyrightable. Execution is. So I just let her get away with it." "I'm saying you don't have legal standing."
I'm sorry, Mom.
Ryan hung up, poured another drink, and started planning. If he couldn't destroy Elsa legally, he'd find another way. 3 weeks after Chicago, everything started falling apart. Fairfund's zero-fee strategy was working. 2 of their newest clients jumped ship, citing budget constraints. Then the NCBA webinar got postponed indefinitely because Harrison Wells had a family emergency. Then their lead developer, Jake, got poached by a competitor offering triple his salary. "We can't afford to match that," Vincent said, running his hands through his hair. "I know," Elsa replied, staring at their dwindling bank account. They were down to 3 months of runway. Maybe 2 if they were unlucky. But the worst was yet to come. Ryan struck on a Tuesday. He'd spent weeks building a fake identity online, a concerned small business owner who'd allegedly been scammed by EthicaConnect. He posted his story everywhere: Reddit, Twitter, industry forums, review sites. EthicaConnect promised to connect my bakery with ethical investors. Instead, they took my $5,000 application fee and disappeared. When I tried to follow up, they blocked me. This company is a scam. The founder, Elsa Corleone, is a fraud. Don't trust them. It was complete fiction. EthicaConnect didn't charge application fees. They never had. But the post went viral. Within 48 hours, they'd lost 5 clients. 3 pending contracts fell through. Their reputation, the thing they'd worked so hard to build, was in ruins. "We need to respond," Vincent said, pacing their office at midnight. "How?" Elsa's voice was hollow. Nobody fact-checks anymore. They just read a headline and believe it. "We sue for defamation." "With what money, Vincent? We are broke." He stopped pacing, looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something that terrified him. The light in her eyes, the fire that had burned so bright these past months, was dimming. "Elsa, we can fight this." "Maybe we can't." Her voice cracked. "Maybe Ryan was right. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'm just." "Don't." Vincent crossed the room, grabbed her shoulders. "Don't you dare finish that sentence. Ryan was a small, insecure man who needed you to be small so he could feel big. And you know what? He lost. Even now, when he's throwing everything he has at us, he's already lost. Because you're not that woman anymore." "Then why does it hurt so much?" "Because you care. Because you built something real. And that's exactly why we are going to save it. Before we continue, real talk. Have you ever been so close to giving up that you forgot why you started? Drop a comment. Tell me what kept you going. And listen, if this story is hitting you in the chest right now, subscribe. Because you need to see how this ends. I promise, it's worth it. Zara arrived the next morning with coffee and a plan. All right, here's what we are doing, she said, laptop already open. I pulled the IP address from that fake review. Traced it back to Ryan's apartment building. Idiot didn't even use a VPN. Can we use that? Vincent asked. Absolutely. I'm drafting a cease and desist right now. And I'm filing a defamation suit. Pro bono, because you're my girl and I don't let people destroy my girl. Elsa felt tears prickling her eyes. Zara. Nope.
No crying.
We are in war mode now. You built something beautiful, and some bitter ex-husband isn't going to take it from you. Within 3 hours, Zara had issued a cease and desist, filed a lawsuit, contacted every platform where Ryan posted, providing proof of fraud, drafted a public statement for EthicaConnect. The posts started coming down. Slowly at first, then faster. By evening, Ryan's fake reviews had been removed from every major platform. But the damage was done. Then Claire Whitmore called. I heard about the situation, she said without preamble. Elsa braced herself for the worst. Investors hated controversy. I'm pulling out, aren't I? Elsa asked. Are you insane? Claire laughed. I'm doubling down. I'm investing another $300,000. And I'm connecting you with my PR firm to repair your reputation. Claire, you don't have to. I'm not doing this out of charity, Elsa. I'm doing this because bitter ex-husbands who sabotage their ex-wife's success are my personal kryptonite. And because your business model is sound, your team is brilliant, and I refuse to let you fail because some man couldn't handle your greatness. Elsa started crying. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just win. Build your empire. And when you're a billionaire, remember who believed in you when it was hard. With Claire's new investment and Zara's legal firepower, they stabilized. The PR firm crafted a narrative. Female founder targeted by abusive ex-husband, refuses to back down. It resonated. Suddenly, EthicaConnect wasn't just a business, it was a movement. Articles appeared in Forbes, Inc., Fast Company. How one woman turned heartbreak into a $10 million valuation. The NCBA webinar got rescheduled. 2,000 bank CEOs tuned in. Elsa and Vincent delivered the presentation of their lives. By the end, 47 banks signed up immediately. 200 plus requested follow-up calls. Their monthly recurring revenue jumped to $87,000. They were profitable. Actually, genuinely profitable. Vincent proposed on a random Tuesday. No fanfare. No grand gesture. Just the two of them in their office after everyone had gone home, reviewing contracts, and he turned to her and said, Marry me. Elsa looked up. What? I know it's fast. I know we are in the middle of chaos. But I also know that I want to build everything with you. Not just this company. Everything. So marry me. Not today. Not tomorrow. But someday. When you're ready. Just say you'll think about it. Elsa set down her pen, looked at this man who'd seen her at her lowest and decided she was worth betting on. This man who'd believed in her when she didn't believe in herself. Yes, she said. Yes, you'll think about it. Yes, I'll marry you. Vincent's face split into the biggest smile she'd ever seen. He kissed her. And in that moment, Elsa realized. She'd spent years begging a man to love her. And now she'd found a man who begged her to let him. 18 months later, EthicaConnect had 340 community bank clients, $2.1 million in annual recurring revenue, a team of 23 employees, offices in New York, Chicago, and Atlanta. Then Goldman Sachs called. They wanted to acquire EthicaConnect for $2.3 billion. Billion. With a B. Elsa and Vincent sat in their office, the bigger one they'd moved into, with windows and plants and actual furniture, staring at the offer letter. This is insane, Vincent whispered. This is insane, Elsa agreed. Do we take it? Elsa thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago, crying outside a cafe, convinced she was useless. She thought about every late night, every rejection, every moment she wanted to quit. She thought about Ryan's voice, "You're useless." And she smiled. We take it. Meanwhile, Ryan's life had become unrecognizable. After the lawsuit, he'd been forced to pay $50,000 in damages, money he didn't have. He'd declared bankruptcy, lost his apartment, moved back in with his parents. Jessica had divorced him, taken half of nothing, and married her real estate developer. Ryan was working at a car rental agency, making $18 an hour, living in his childhood bedroom, watching his ex-wife's face appear on magazine covers. Elsa Corleone, from heartbreak to billionaire. He'd destroyed himself trying to destroy her, and she'd won anyway. The night it rained, Ryan showed up at Elsa's gate. Not the apartment she used to live in. Her mansion. The $47 million estate she'd bought with her Goldman Sachs money. He was soaked. Desperate. Pathetic. He pressed the intercom. Elsa. Elsa. Please. I just want to talk. The gates didn't open. But Elsa appeared, walking down her driveway in a silk robe, heels clicking on marble. She looked untouchable. Like a woman who'd conquered the world. Because she had. What do you want, Ryan? Her voice was calm. Cold. I'm sorry. He was crying now. I'm so sorry. For everything. I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. Please. Can we start over? Elsa studied him for a long moment. Then she laughed. Not cruel. Just. Free. You called me useless, she said softly. You cheated. You abandoned me. You tried to destroy my business. And now you want to start over. I was wrong. You were. She stepped closer to the gate but didn't open it. But I'm not angry anymore, Ryan. I am grateful. Grateful. You taught me what I don't deserve. And then life showed me what I do. Behind her, Vincent appeared, her husband now, her partner in everything. Everything okay? He called. Everything's perfect, Elsa replied, not taking her eyes off Ryan. She turned back to her ex-husband one last time. I forgive you, Ryan. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. And I hope you find yours. Just not with me. She walked away. Didn't look back. Ryan stood at the gate, watching the life he could have had disappear into marble and light. Epilogue. 5 years later. Elsa and Vincent had 3 children. EthicaConnect had facilitated over $800 million in ethical investments. They'd started a foundation supporting women rebuilding after divorce. Elsa was on the Forbes 400. Vincent taught entrepreneurship at Howard University. Zara was their company's general counsel and godmother to their eldest daughter. And Ryan. He'd eventually gotten sober, found a decent job, and started therapy. He never remarried. Never reached out again. Just lived his quiet life, knowing he'd held gold and thrown it away. Elsa stood on her balcony one morning, watching the sunrise, and thought, I spent years begging to be chosen. And then I chose myself. And everything changed. The end. Listen, beautiful soul. If you made it this far, through every twist, every tear, every triumph, you already know this story was for you. For anyone who's been called too much or not enough. For anyone rebuilding after someone tried to break them. For anyone who chose themselves when nobody else would. Subscribe. Share this. Let it remind you that your comeback is always bigger than your setback. Drop a comment telling me, what's your comeback story? I'll see you in the next one.